Welcome to episode 6 of Curious Conversations.
Yep.
How have we got to episode 6 already?
It's mad.
That's week 6.
It's mad. That's crazy to think about it like that.
Yeah.
It thinks like I think. See, when I think of episode 6, I think about like that's not a lot, but it's week 6. That's mad. That's so cool. That's class.
Me and Aiden are going to go similar to our very first podcast where we went over. We just asked each other questions really. I've got 4 questions for Aiden. He's got 4 questions for me. And yeah, we're just going to answer them. They're questions that we've both been thinking of or people have asked us about and would quite like to chat of.
Totally.
I'm going to ask first.
Go for it.
What does confidence mean to you?
Confidence, that's what I was saying just before we started this. I love talking about confidence just because it's the main attribute that I love to see in someone, just because I know how hard it is to be confident. I wouldn't say I'm a naturally confident person, but I've definitely learned over the years how to be, just by like people that I've surrounded myself with and kind of learnt a little bit about it. But confidence for me, I'd say it means like being relentless with the way you think, like not allowing like a so-called embarrassing moment or like a kind of scenario to affect the way you kind of think about yourself and you hold yourself in a true regard and you love yourself. And I seen something on Chris Williamson's podcast, I can't remember who it was with, but it was a guy and he was talking about like, I like me, I would have a beer with me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's true confidence, loving yourself and respecting yourself enough to kind of believe the type of person who you are. Like, do you know what I mean? I think that's how I see confidence. That's what it means to me. And as I was saying to you again after before we started the podcast, I admire people so much, like they've got confidence in people that just ooze that. Like my best mate Fraz, he is the epitome. You know Fraz, he is the epitome of confidence. He lights up a room, and he makes people feel better. And it's like it rubs off on you. It rubs off on you. So I definitely say that's what confidence means to me. Just being your type of person and loving yourself and respecting yourself.
Yeah. Maybe I know this isn't actually written down, it's not a question, but how do you think you gain confidence?
It's definitely, gaining confidence is definitely down to getting out your comfort zone and doing the thing that you know you should do, but it's not as easy. It's not as easy to do. Like you build confidence from like continuously like doing the thing over and over and over again. Like for example, speaking to a stranger. Constantly doing that, and you also build confidence in yourself by like going to the gym consistently, because you're building that respect for yourself, and when you do that, you become a person that's confident. I think that's one of the things. Definitely, you get out there, you speak to different people, and you kind of just get out your comfort zone, and the things that scare you, that's what you do. You do that.
I completely agree. I think the best thing you can possibly do with any kind of goal you want to achieve is think of that person who is already that, and ask yourself on a daily basis or multiple times in a day, what would they do in this situation? Yeah,
we were speaking about that the other day, weren't we?
Yeah, it's about becoming the person who is confident.
Exactly. What would that? You ask yourself, what would a confident person do in this situation? I like to always kind of ask myself that as well. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, actually, I read a thing in a book which is it's actually completely different to what we speak about confidence with, but it makes a lot of sense. And it's you're born with confidence, and then you learn to be unconfident. So, like if you think of like a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, like they're not thinking about what other people think of them. Like they're just being them. They're just like running about, being curious, like playing, asking hundreds of questions. If you think of a young person,
that's so mad.
And
never even thought about it like that.
Then you learn from a young age. Maybe going to school, nursery, like you'll learn to not do the things anymore and try to become other people rather than yourself.
Exactly.
So it's like you almost learn unconfidence, and
That's
then you
insane.
need to relearn it. Like the older you get.
Exactly. Yeah. Because that's the thing. Like as you grow up, the goals to kind of like try and fit in, and kind of find your friend group and things like that, and that comes down to maybe like what people like and what people dislike, and then you kind of mould into that, and that kind of gives you a certain perspective on life. And as you say, it grows, like you grow into like an unconfident person, but you would think it would be the opposite. But that's so cool that you say that, because I've never even thought about that. So my question to you is, what is one bit of advice you would give to your 21-year-old self? Because I'm 21 right now.
Yeah.
So like, I know what it's like being a 21-year-old. I know you were 21 a while ago, bro. A while ago, bro. I'm talking a while.
I'm sure I'm not laughing right now.
Nah, you're definitely, you're young at heart. But nah, what is the one bit of advice you would give your 21-year-old self?
I'm still young, mate.
Yeah, I know you are, bro. No one said you're not. I'd say you're not.
21-year-old self, so that was 6 years ago now. So when I was 21, I was a completely different 21-year-old than what you are. So
I just, sorry to cut you off, I could never imagine you any other way than you are just now.
yeah,
It's mad.
and
That's what gives me hope in myself.
yeah, like I think it does. It shows like the amount you can change in that amount of time. But
yeah,
I believe that pretty much anyone can when they put their mind to it. I was actually catching up with my pal from uni on Sunday there. Yeah, on Sunday. And he was like, he went to uni with me. He was he was a year older than me, but like we done the exact same stuff together. He was pretty much the exact same as me. We'd go out constantly, drinking, getting blackout drunk, like drinking right through to the next day, and like we were actually chatting about he's completely like turned his life around as well, mate. He doesn't drink anymore. He's a PE teacher, but he's learning to be a therapist.
Nice.
I actually said to him, mate, we should get him on the podcast.
100%.
I had such a good conversation with him.
That's sick.
So, but like I was chatting to him about, you almost need to hit rock bottom at a certain point to bounce back up. So like we spoke about it, and it says on, I'm sure it's Chris Williamson again, one of the podcasts he done, that like a lot of people get stuck in the middle ground where it's like you're not actually that, like things aren't that bad that you need to change. Like you're in a relationship which is like alright, it's not that great, but it's not that bad. You get let away with a few things, but it's not that great. Or the example that they put is they live in a flat and it's got like a wee bit of mould in the corner, but it's not like enough to move out or like get it fixed or whatever.
So you become comfortably numb.
Yeah, comfortably numb. That's exactly what it is. And I got to the point when I was probably about 21, 22, where like I felt like it was during lockdown, and it was a particular night out after it. I like felt terrible. Like woke up in my room and I was just like, not, I wouldn't say I was depressed, but like at that moment in time, I felt it, and I was like, things need to change. Like I've had a big realization moment. So like going off of back to the question that you asked, that's me just painting the picture as to what I was like at 21.
Oh, totally.
But a lesson I would say to my 21-year-old self is probably to ask the questions. So probably linking it back to what I was like when I was younger, or when we were all younger. We would be very curious and ask why, or ask our mum and dad plenty of questions all the time. You lose that throughout school. I remember not asking a thing in school and uni.
Insane.
Like to the point where like I felt I probably didn't learn very much in that. And that's time.
Probably down to like kind of your perception on what people were thinking about you if you were to ask that question.
110%.
In reality, they're probably wanting to find out the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Everyone's thinking that.
Yeah.
In their head, so it's crazy to think, like, going back to the whole confidence thing, obviously, staying with the whole theme of thing, is it is basically just kind of being unapologetically yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why I admire people so much about it, because like that when they have it, sorry, because it's so hard. Like people struggle so much to just be themselves, and it's understandable the kind of generation we're in. But I think the more and more you lean into yourself, the better you feel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In turn, making you more confident, and then more confidence brings more. Like I feel when I'm feeling more confident, I feel way more happy than I am. So 100%, mate. I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that.
Yep. I think that you're so right. Like when you are completely yourself, you're that word that gets thrown around, authentic to yourself. It's like that's when you feel your best, and I feel that's what the last 5-6 years has been, is through learning that and understanding myself a little bit more, and that's what I would probably tell myself when I'm 21, is to be more curious, ask more questions, not care as much what other people think, and
Biggest one, man. Biggest one.
it's something that like you still work on a daily basis, but that is definitely the thing I would tell myself.
Totally. It's great.
What is one non-negotiable daily habit that you do
Love this one.
that not a lot of people do?
Love this one. So as we were saying, I didn't want to kind of give a generic one like fucking get my steps in. Sorry, that's what get my steps in, or have my electrolytes, or all that stuff. But one thing that impacts my day in the most positive way ever is having good social interactions. That's my favourite thing to do. Like genuinely speaking to like a good friend of yours or a family member. But speaking to like strangers, like speaking to people that I've not spoken to before, is something that lights me up. Like especially when it's a positive interaction, it always normally is anyway. But I think that can switch my day up. Like that's what I was saying to you the other day. I was out my walk, my morning walk that I always do, and I just wasn't feeling great. I just wasn't feeling great mentally. Sometimes I just kind of wake up and I'm not feeling too good, and it was raining and stuff like that. And then I went into a coffee shop, and it was completely empty. And I started speaking to the girl, and she was kind of telling me about like what she does at uni and things that she's passionate about and stuff like that. And honestly, I left the coffee shop like absolutely buzzing, just because I had that good conversation with her, and I learned. That's one thing about me. I don't care if you're passionate about mopping the floor. See if you're passionate about something and you speak to me about that. I love that. Yeah. I love to hear like people, like I love to hear about the things that people love. Do you know what I mean? And they like to do. So and it lights me up. It makes my mood feel good. It makes me feel a lot better when I can kind of speak to people, and then you can kind of just get into a great conversation and learn a little bit more about the person. So I'd probably say that speaking to anyone, but also sort of like a bigger one for me is speaking to just someone that you've never spoken to before. I love that.
Yeah,
so good.
That's actually something that I can probably take away from. I feel even when I'm out with you, I feel like you spark up conversations with random people, and hardly ever do that unless it's someone who, like, I don't know, I maybe know of or something like that. I would start a conversation, but random people, I actually never ever do that. Like on the street, I remember walking with you. You literally, some random guy just walked past and you were like, "Mate, I love your hair," or like, "I love your hat," or something.
Love your hat.
Love your hat.
Yeah.
And and the guy was just like, "Cheers," like smile on his face. I was just like, I would never do that, but like. It was cool though. The guy, like, totally. You could tell the guy like really appreciated it.
Totally. Like, do you know one thing I do when when I'm not feeling too good as well, like I'm feeling a little bit rubbish, I'll actually go out a walk and intentionally go out to compliment people.
Yeah.
And I'll come back from that walk feeling incredible.
Yeah.
Feel so good. Like one time I went out, it wasn't that long ago to be fair, I just went out just after, I think it was after a shift, and I was feeling a little bit run down, and I was just sitting in the house on my phone and stuff like that. I was like, you know what, I'm going to go for a walk, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to compliment 3 people.
Yeah.
Complimented 3 people. Actually complimented 5 people, but I got dinged by 2 of them.
Yeah.
I get dinged by the first person, and I was like, nah, I'm not letting myself. I'm not letting this
That's
route. That's confidence.
impressive.
That's confidence. I know. And then I just done it, and then I came back feeling so much better. So I think that's a very underrated thing. Like
Yeah.
you see so many times. Like I'm really observant when I'm out for a walk as well. Like I'm always looking at everyone that's like on their phone, or they've got their earphones in. Not saying that's a bad thing at all,
Yeah.
but I'm always trying to like observe and see where I can kind of make the most out of my time.
Yeah,
Can
see,
I make most out of my walks?
that's like a completely different level. Like I will, that's a habit. To be honest, I've probably taken quite a bit from you, as well as the the energy you bring to certain people. So like in sin, for example, I will always make sure to compliment someone on something if I actually like it and I actually feel that way. So someone like I don't, it can be even their shoes or they got a new haircut, something like that. I'll always point it out now. But like doing it to a stranger is like a different level.
That's one thing as well. Like none of that is like disingenuous.
Yeah.
Like none of that is disingenuous. I'm only giving them a compliment because I genuinely think that.
Yeah,
I'm not just doing it to like get like
yourself.
just say it just to say it.
Yeah.
It's always like genuinely what I'm thinking. And yeah, I feel like it can have a hugely positive impact on your day.
Yeah.
That's class. Right, so I've got one for you, kind of a good kind of sidetrack into this next one. What's a daily task that you struggle with each day? Because I know that you're pretty structured with what you do, and you've taken a lot of time to kind of get good at all the things that you do in a day. But I just wanted to find out, is there anything that you still kind of struggle with?
You're saying that, but my struggle is probably within that answer that you just said, and that is sometimes being too structured to a point where it's actually, I know you're going to say it, talk about biggest weakness as well. Like sometimes I'll plan way too much in my day to do that. I end up getting overwhelmed, or I get like annoyed at myself for not doing certain things. And I'm actually reading this book just now called Essentialism by Greg McKeown. It was actually Harry on the pod that talked about it.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
One of them unreal quotes that he just like flew in
throws
there.
it there.
He just threw it in there. And yeah, I started reading it last week, and it's so good. I think I'm maybe 30% in or something, but it talks a lot about the main concept of it is you've got essentialist people and non-essentialists, and 99% of the world is non-essentialists, where they focus their time on a million different things on the day rather than 4 or 5 essential things that are going to move the needle forward and actually progress in their life and fulfill them. And from like a coaching perspective, from fitness perspective, like relationships, friendships, everything, like there's certain tasks that you can do on a daily basis, but if you fill up each of them with 6 different tasks, you're just going to overwhelm yourself. So I think that's something that I'm still struggling with in particular, is knowing my limits with certain things, and putting too much on my plate that I can't handle. I think I always remember the quote of the more you do, the more you can do, and I think I've took that literally, where I'm like, right, if I just do hundreds right now, I will learn to deal with hundreds, but it's that whole one step at a time, and that's just not what I've been living recently. I've been trying to do too much at once.
Yeah, because we were speaking about that, weren't we, the other day. Like to do that, you need to be a little bit selfish, and you need to kind of narrow down what your priorities are, and that's hard, man. That's hard. Like if you think about it, like narrowing it down to four things a day, that's tough, especially when you've never really thought about it before. So there is a kind of sense of like kind of selfishness that needs to come into play to kind of narrow that down. For people, I think definitely. Yeah,
I'll probably speak a lot more about this because I feel like this book's going to have like a big mind shift for me, because
mindset shift. Aye,
because like it is kind of about the perspective of the way you think about things, and like what you were saying there, this is in the book, see the word priorities. it actually used to just be the word priority. Like it meant a singular priority, and then it was only in the last like 50 years or something that they've made it plural, because nowadays we have
So
so
many
much
things.
more on our plate and so many things that we can choose from. Like a good example like I always think of is, I don't know, you're like, say you're on Instagram or you're on TikTok or something, and you see someone doing a certain thing that looks really cool, and it just pulls you completely away from like your biggest goals, and you're like, oh, maybe I should do that. Like maybe I should do that. They look like they're living such a cool life doing that, and you all of a sudden like switch to think, oh, I can maybe fit that in my life. But whereas you've still got all the other things in your life that you're trying to do.
So that just adds another priority.
Yeah. So like, yeah, that was a huge thing that kind of sticks out in my mind in the last couple of days.
That's top class.
What's one piece of advice you'd give to yourself a year ago?
Good question. I think the one bit of advice I'd give to myself a year ago, obviously probably a year ago today, I was maybe like a month qualified as a personal trainer.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool, but I'd probably say at that time in my life I didn't give myself the chance to kind of like smell the flowers and as I always like to say, like smelling the flowers and like taking like the situation you're in, if that makes sense, like enjoying life and kind of embracing the struggle almost, because it was a struggle at the start for me. Like I really did struggle. I struggled to, because I wouldn't say I learned confidence like probably this year. Do you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't say I wasn't like a hugely confident person a year ago, but I would like, it was the struggles of like needing to like go up to people in the gym. I think I was like working in the village. I was working at the village, and I was kind of trying to transition from the village to 1-to-1. So it was and I didn't really know exactly what the best way to go about it. And I was always just kind of trying to get things done and not really actually taking in the hardship, because I think that's such a good thing to do, is like be in the struggle that you know yourself, like how to become a good PT isn't to like try and fast track yourself and kind of get forward and get them as much clients. It's about getting the experience and doing the hard things, cleaning the gym equipment, waking up at 4 a.m, speaking to strangers in the gym, like things like that. So and looking back at that, I just wish I like took it in a little bit more and enjoyed it. So I'd probably say that probably a year ago I'd tell myself to just kind of relax, smell the flowers, and kind of and believe in yourself a little bit more, because you can do it. Because it wasn't only like, it was only until like I can remember vividly like March, April, May time where I actually started to build a little bit of momentum, and I took that leap into 1-to-1, and then things started to like come up for me, and people started to like realise what I was doing, and I was getting some good feedback and stuff like that. So I'd probably say that, yeah. Sit back and smell the flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
What is your biggest strength, and also what's your biggest weakness? We've obviously kind of spoke a little bit about what your biggest weakness is, being a little bit too structured.
I still kind of back that in terms of my weakness of trying to put too much on my plate. So being a non-essentialist, literally of what I just spoke about. I think that's something I've been thinking about a lot recently. And then when, I don't know, sometimes I think life gives you the lessons you need to learn, and maybe there was a sign that Harry like spoke about that.
For sure.
And yeah, I've been reading that. I've been learning a lot about it. So I'm really going to put in the effort to do that. Prioritise my time a little bit better. Strength. I know this is about this. Like, this is exactly what this is called, the Curious Conversations, but I would probably say it's my curiosity and like burning desire to learn new things. Like there's not a day goes by where I don't read something new or ask a question to someone who's ahead of me, ever, really, like, or listen to some sort of podcast. I know that, like, we've spoke about in the past of mental masturbation, where like you can learn so much and not implement anything. Like I completely understand that, but I do think if you spend a lot of time being curious and learning things, there's like no chance that you can't not succeed in the future in
Totally.
whatever like you choose to do. I think like through doing that you learn certain things, or you learn certain things that you can try, then fail, then learn again at. Like I think it's my ability to do that is probably my strongest point. And I feel like it's going to be a lifelong thing for me. I always remember in teaching they spoke about lifelong learning and the importance of it, like as a teacher, and I felt like that was at the kind of point where, like when I was a teacher, I wasn't that bothered about teaching. Like
Yeah.
I didn't really like learning about it, but then I found something that I wanted to learn more about, and that was probably myself.
Yeah.
I wanted to learn a lot more about myself, my own mind. So I started reading more kind of personal development stuff, mindset things, and that's kind of spiraled from there. But yeah, like once once you develop yourself personally, then you've already fell in love with the process of learning and being curious. So then you can go into whatever you want. If it's coaching, if you're then into business, like whatever you then want to do, you've already like learned the skill of learning, which I think is a massive thing.
Totally.
Then you can take it into whatever you want to.
100%. That's top class. Love that.
I'm going to go off of the questions we've got
Go for it.
and ask you back.
Yep.
What do you think your biggest strength and biggest weakness is? I think this is a good question.
That's a really good question. My biggest weakness is definitely probably like my self-deprivation. Like being a little bit too hard on myself, and maybe like my negative thought towards myself. I'd probably say that's my biggest weakness. I feel like I've tried to develop that so much in the past, like ever since being in sin. I've started to really realise, because I just thought that was just how I was before I came in here. Do you know what I mean? Until I was surrounded by people that were like true, like people that have put so much attention towards how they feel. I.e., Dale and Ryan, like people like you've read about all these things and stuff like that, and I just thought that was the way I was. And it's, don't get me wrong, mate, it's tough every single day. You go through it every single day. It's not something that you complete, I don't think, but there's definitely things that you can do to minimise it, and ways that you can think to work around it. But yeah, I'd probably say that's my biggest weakness. My biggest strength, you know what, I don't want to steal your answer, but curiosity for me as well. If you think about it, that's probably why the podcast's called what it is, because both of us are like that. I'm every single day I'm asking myself questions on why I feel a certain way, or why I do this certain thing, even though I know it's probably not the right thing, or why am I in a certain period of my life, things like that. I'm so curious, but I'm in that kind of stage of trying to figure out myself, trying to figure out all those kind of emotions, and understanding why I feel a certain emotion when something creeps up, or things like that. So yeah, I'd probably say my curiosity, my willingness to learn, is definitely there. I'm always shooting you with questions and always trying to figure out and what the best thing is to do, and kind of how to optimize my life. Do you know what I mean? Because life can definitely get hard, and I think it's always good to kind of make sure that you're welcoming those hardships, but also like it's one of those ones where you need to just focus on getting better and learning and stuff like that. So I'd probably say, yeah, my curiosity to things, and kind of try to figure out how I can get better is probably my biggest strength.
Yeah, and it's a huge value. We spoke about this with Ryan and Dale.
For
huge
sure.
value down at Sin. Like we're taking on a new coach soon, and like that was a massive part of it, was if they were curious to learn, because Ryan and Dale are the exact same. They want to learn new things.
100%. I think that's why That's why our answer is the exact same for the strengths, because we hold the exact same values in that sense.
Yeah.
We hold those values, and we know what type of values we hold at within sin. And that's why it's kind of, that's what springs to mind when I get asked that question. So, last question for you. What is the best thing that you've learned from your mum and dad? Something that I wanted to find out. Obviously, not get the chance to meet your mum and dad yet, but I know that
That was
they,
a big yet.
yeah, a big yet, because you're my literal best friend, bro. So when's this happening? Next
to
family
get-
party.
You're
Next
trying to get invited for dinner.
yeah, next family party. Let's go. No, I've heard you speak about them a lot. In From what you've said is always like super nice things, and I know that they've had a huge impact on your success and your sister's success, and obviously Matthew and Chris. So I just wanted to know, like, what is the biggest thing you've learned from them?
I've learned so much from my mum and dad. I think naturally you learn so much from your environment growing up, no matter who you surround yourself with. But I'm very close to my family, and like that's a good question because
There is so much.
There is so much that
It's a lifetime worth of things.
yeah, 100%. But if I could pinpoint one thing, it's probably just their like lifelong care. Like they, myself and my little brothers, like we were so sporty, growing up. My sister as well, to a certain extent, she stopped a wee bit like younger than we did. But me and my little brothers played badminton and football every single night of the week. Like I'm telling you, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we had either badminton or football. Sometimes we had both. And my mum and dad would taxi us around here, there, everywhere, from when we were 5 right through to 17. Like that's such a commitment,
Totally.
like a huge commitment. And like when you're younger, obviously you don't think of it, but I appreciate that massively. And it's obviously built us into who we are today. But that is like, and then at the weekends, Saturday, Sunday as well. Like I would have football on a Saturday or a badminton tournament from Saturday and Sunday.
It's a lot.
So it's like it's like their whole life for 18 years pretty much. And obviously my little brothers are 2 years younger than me, so 20 years all in. That's like, when you think of it, that's what, a quarter of your life given away to your kids. Like, and obviously when I ask them, they would probably do it over and over again.
Totally.
That's the kind of people they are. But I think that will hold true to me for like when I have kids as well.
Totally.
Like, family's a huge value of mine and will always will be because of that. And I think that care is the forefront of it. So that's probably what I've learned. It's what I put into coaching as well. Like
Yeah, because it covers all aspects.
Yeah.
It covers all aspects within your life. They're kind of holding the standard, as you say. You don't really realise it when you're younger, but when you start to get older and you start to understand how your mum and dad acted with you and stuff like that, it's a crucial kind of time in your life. So that's 1 million. But you can see that from like your coaching, from your attention to detail. I'd say that's probably one of your great strengths as well. Like how much you work in terms of the attention that you put towards it. I respect that so much, and that's definitely down to your mum and dad kind of showing you that having that care and showing you like how to do things in life. 100%. That's top class.
my final question to you is, what lesson is life trying to teach you that you're not listening to?
I'd probably say that a lesson that life's trying to teach me that I'm not listening to is that I am enough. Like I feel like that's a constant battle, and it's a mad deep ass question. But I think that's something that I'm not listening to at the moment. Because I think it's it's quite tough to listen to yourself, especially as I've said, like, because I'm quite a self-deprivating person. It's always going to be a struggle for me, to listen to that. But I'm slowly but surely getting towards that. But at the moment, I'd probably say kind of that life lesson is hard to get around, I think.
Go a little bit deeper into it. You are enough. What does that mean to you?
I think that it's, I relate being enough to like doing things, and because I'm quite young, like doing things like accomplishments and achievements, I never really went to school. I never really, like, besides this job, I never really had any evidence that I could do anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm struggling to listen to that. Listen to me telling myself that I'm enough. Because I'm at this kind of stage right now where I've got a little bit of evidence, and that's why it's starting to slowly build. But it's, as I say, it's kind of easier said than done to kind of say that to yourself, like, especially when I went through, like, I came out of school super early and stuff. I had no qualifications whatsoever, and was kind of a bit of a, like, troubled child. So I think that's kind of where it stems from.
Yeah.
That's kind of where it stems from, I'd say. So yeah, I'd probably say that.
Yeah, no, I think it ties in with the kind of negative self-talk you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
If you constantly say that you're not enough and you keep backing that up and backing up and backing up, you're going to believe it.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what you tell yourself over and over again, whether that is, I am the overweight person, I am the ugly person, like, you're always going to think of yourself in that manner unless you break the barrier, like, you break the trend of keep telling yourself that. But you need to be aware enough that you are telling yourself that, but you clearly are now because you're speaking about it on a podcast. Like,
1,000,000%, and that's the good thing about having you as a good friend. You've made me realise that, and you kind of hold on to things that you used to be, like, in your earlier life. And I think I do that sometimes, and that's maybe why I'm a little bit self-deprivating in that sense. But it's always, I love talking about it. Like, I love talking about it, and again, it's down to kind of, the more and more I speak about it, the more and more I can learn about myself and why I feel these things. And obviously the book that I'm reading just now, the Mountain Is You, is perfect for that, because it's just showing you, like, kind of, I'm reading about, like, why you do certain things when you're feeling a certain emotion and things like that. So yeah, I love talking about it.
yeah, that's like something I've actually been speaking a lot about recently, is the identity piece, and
Yeah.
it's something that I'm learning a lot from my coach as well. Is you actually have to, like, completely change your identity and think of yourself in a different manner to get to that place, or else you won't get there.
Yeah,
Like,
because it's that quote, your new life is going to cost you your old one.
yeah,
And that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
You need to start thinking like the new version of yourself to get away from the old version.
yeah,
And you need to start doing, like a great way to think about it is, like, what is the best version of me doing just now in this situation? And that's the way I like to think about it, and something that helps me regularly.
And an analogy that I always remember my mental performance coach talking about is, like, you need to think of yourself like a snake where they constantly shed their old skin. We need to constantly shed our old skin. Like, if you think about it, you're not the same person today as you were yesterday. Like, what you've learned yesterday is then becoming your new self today. But, like, so many people are holding on to the old skin.
Yeah.
Like, and they just can't let go of it. And
Because that's where their comfort is.
Yeah.
That's why, like, for people thinking, like, why can't I get away from, like, this feeling or this way I am? I just keep retracting back to my old self. You're doing that because that's what's familiar to you. You've done that your full life. So, of course, you're going to retract back to that. It's until you start bringing awareness to that fact that you are just going back to that because it is comfort, that you can actually start to, like, kind of wave away from that. I think that's the biggest thing for it, is being aware of what you're retracting back to and why you're doing it. Be aware you're retracting back to your old self because that's what you've known for like years and years and years. But you need to change that by action. As we always say, action is the antidote. You need to think about the best version of you. What would he do? What would she do in that case? And implement from there.
Absolutely. Change your identity first. Visualize what that identity would do and step into it.
Totally.
Put the actions together.
1,000,000%. Just to follow up on that, have you got anything like that? What is a lesson that the life's trying to teach you that you aren't listening to, if you've got one? I'm just curious to know that as well, because I know that we are super close and stuff like that, and from the outside, you look like you've got everything figured out, and that's what's super impressive to me. So I just always kind of want to know if there is something that you're maybe life's trying to teach you that you're not listening to.
Honestly, the thing that keeps coming to my head, like the thing that I've been thinking about for the last couple of months, probably just since I joined Sin, is because it's been a big life change for me. I've went from one-to-one and having an online business to completely like shifting away from one-to-one, still having online, but also coming in Sin, so it's a big workload for me. And like juggling both has been difficult, but I'm now putting things in place to get there. But I'm still lying to myself to like how much I'm putting on my plate, like what I was speaking about earlier on.
Yeah.
That I can handle that amount of workload, or handle that amount of time that's thrown to me. I was reading a thing. In fact, it's James Clear again. But it was reminding me of something I read off Instagram, and it was like you only fall to the failure of your systems.
Yeah.
So it's the systems that you have in your daily life.
Aye. You.
So it's like I probably just need to work on a certain system better.
It's like you don't rise to your expectations; you fall to your systems.
Fall to the level of your systems. That's exactly it. And that's probably the biggest lesson for me. I feel like I've said it like 2-3 times on this podcast, but maybe reiterating it in my head is good.
This is what this is for.
I'm now putting a podcast out to the world, so hopefully a couple of people will hold me to it.
Totally.
Don't ask me in the next couple of weeks, so I'll say in a couple of months, and then I'll have it sorted out. But yeah, I think that question's like, for anyone listening, that's probably a huge question to ask yourself, is what lesson is life trying to teach you right now? Because life is throwing lessons at everyone right now.
Totally.
And they're ignoring them, like we all are.
Totally. I think that's a great way to end the podcast, is ask yourself that question and really think about it. Take a little seat and kind of really think about that question and delve a little bit deeper into your mind and think about the things that maybe you're not listening to, but you know you should be doing and should be implementing.
Yeah, that was deep.
That was deep, all right, but that's how we like it.
Yeah. We just want to say a massive thank you first off to everyone who is listening and tuning in, like week on week, or if this is the first time you've listened. If you've got anything from it, please share it with a friend. Subscribe on Spotify, YouTube. I'm getting Apple Podcasts sorted by
them sorted. It's unacceptable.
The last 2 haven't went up for some reason, but I will get them sorted. But yeah, like thank you to everyone who's listening.
A huge thank you to everyone that takes the time out of their day to listen to us. As we say, we're just we started this off just to do it for ourselves and get to know each other a little bit better and kind of get out what we think to other people and see if they can relate, and if you can relate, as we say, share, like, subscribe and all that good stuff.
We're all figuring it out.
We're all figuring it out, and we will figure it out.
No, we won't.
No, we won't. Let's go, bro.